guys, Erica with a K here. Today's video is going to be on things I would tell my younger self if I can go back in time, which we all know I can't. I have a little mermaid mug over here and I'm going to be drinking from it. So we all know we can't go back in time, and we all know that I like to make notes in my videos, but I did not make a note for this because I kind of wanted it to just be something that's authentic, off the top of my head, and that's what I want to do. So things I would tell my younger self. The first thing I would tell my younger self is to save my money. This is something that I was told my entire life and I never did it. And I remember specifically saying to one of my best friends, Jaleesa, we were about 17 at the time, and I was like, I don't understand why people keep telling me to save my money. I was like, it's not like I'm gonna buy a house. And here I am, about 10 years later, bought a house, did renovations on it, had no money saved. Just not a good place to be. Like, this whole process would have been so much easier if we just had money saved. So that is something I would definitely tell my younger self. I would say save my money. Another thing I would tell my younger self is let things go. Just let it go. Not that you should let people walk all over you, or not that you should be a doormat, but let the anger go. You can't hold on to it. You can't hold resentment. You can't get mad at people for not thinking the way you think or feeling the way you feel or understanding how you feel. You can't get mad at people for that. I mean, you can, of course, we all do, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't get mad at people for that. And another story, same person, Jaleesa, we actually were just coming back from my friend's bachelorette party, which I did in one of my vlogs in Ocean City, and I was saying, you know, I was like, I think that I've become a lot more mellow through the years. I was like, you know, of course, people push my buttons, and when they push my buttons, they know what buttons to push, and of course it gets me angry and stuff like that. I was like, but I really think I got a lot more mellow. And she was like, honestly, she's like, I would say you're like 90% more mellow than you were when we were younger. She's like, sometimes I see that 10% in you where you get angry. She's like, but I would say you're like 90% more mellow. And it honestly meant the world to me, because she's somebody who I've been through a lot with. I've known her since I'm 15, since high school, and I was very short-tempered since elementary school all the way up to like being with my husband when I was like 27. So I was always very short-tempered. I was always very angry. I was always very annoyed by people and stuff like that. And I would just say, like, it's not worth it. It doesn't make you cool. Nobody's afraid of me. Like, it's just not worth it. What's the point? You don't want to be known as that person who has anger issues. Instead, you know, be that person who everybody's like, oh yeah, she's easygoing, but you know, if she does get angry at you, it's for a reason. It's not because she's short-tempered. It's actually for a reason. So that's another thing I would tell my younger self. I feel like there's so many things I would tell myself. I would tell myself probably, this is kind of tough, because I would think that I would tell myself to do better in school, to be a better student, to get, you know, to keep my options open in life. But honestly, like, I love where my life is at right now. So that's really hard for me to say, like, oh, I could have been a lawyer, I could have been a doctor, I could have been this, I could have been that, like, but this is what I want to be doing. So maybe just to prove it to myself that I could have done it would be the reason why. Not that I need it for life, because where I am in life is very great, and I'm very fortunate, and I'm successful, and I am happily married, and I am a homeowner, and I am in my early 30s, and I'm very lucky and I'm very fortunate. But sometimes you think, like, especially me growing up, like, I was never a good student. Nobody ever thought I was smart or anything like that. So maybe just to do it for myself, for my own good. Like, I never did homework. I never did stuff like that. So it wasn't like I was not able to learn, or I just never applied myself, because I never cared until I got to like beauty school. And that's when I was like, okay, now I care. Like, now I want to do good because I'm interested in this and I want to know stuff. So I would say I would just have been a better student just to prove it to myself. Not to change my career path or anything like that, just so that I know I could do it. I would have paid a lot more attention in history class, because that is the most interesting stuff to me. Like, today, like, I love learning about history and stuff like that. Native Americans, I think, is like one of the most interesting topics for me to learn about. I'm most interested in that stuff. So that would be probably something I would have paid more attention to, or wanted to pay more attention to. Like, sometimes I think, like, oh, maybe I'll take a class in that so I could like learn more about it. But in reality, like, I wouldn't do that because I'm just too cheap. But so if I would have just learned about it more when I was younger, I guess that's it. I just never really like appreciated history. I never really appreciated school. And like sometimes I'll say to my husband, like, how do you know this? And he's like, I learned it in like the 6th grade. And I'm like, what was I doing? Like, I never applied myself. I never cared. So maybe I would care more about stuff like that. Like I was very sensitive. Like I cared about like people and things, and that's why I was always short-tempered, because I cared so much, but I didn't care about like school. Like that's not something I cared about. So maybe I would care more about my academics. And another thing is I would have gotten on YouTube way earlier, and I would tell my younger self, instead of recording videos and keeping them for your own personal enjoyment to laugh with, to laugh when you're down or whatever, like put those on YouTube. I would have started YouTube so much earlier. I would tell my younger self, start YouTube earlier, put up the videos of you and your friends because they're so funny. Like I honestly think like that was my calling in life. Like I think if I would have jumped on the YouTube bandwagon earlier, like I would be a well-known YouTuber at this point, which I'm not. I'm just a little YouTuber, but I still love doing it. So that's something I would tell my younger self. Put your videos up on YouTube because they're funny and people will enjoy it. And yeah. And then I would say the last thing I would tell my younger self is not to break up with Joey, who is now my husband. We dated when I was 16, turning 17. He was 20. And I told him that I loved him, and he was like my first real boyfriend. And I told him that I loved him. He didn't say it back. I told my sister, and I was like, oh, I said I love you to Joey. He didn't say it back. And she's like, you should break up with him because the first time you say it to somebody, you should want them to say it back. So I was like, okay. So I broke up with him, and we reconnected 10 years later, and then we dated, we got married, etc. That was about, 4 years ago that we reconnected. I would tell my younger self, don't break up with him. He's the one you're going to wind up with. You're going to be the happiest with him. You're going to have a great life together. And there isn't enough time to waste 10 years. Guys, there isn't enough time to waste 10 years. I wasted 10 years of not being with him. And there's nothing I wouldn't do to get back those 10 years. We've been together 4 now, almost 5. And I feel like there's never enough time. Like forever is not long enough to be with each other. And I just feel like it's wasted time, And it's another thing that's tricky to say because you don't know. I don't know if we would have lasted all those years. We were young, and who I was when I was 17 to who I was when I was 27 when we got back together, I had changed who I was about 10 times during the course of those 10 years. So I don't know if we would have, excuse me, I'm recording. I don't know if we would have grew together or if we would have grew apart. What happened in our lives, it did bring us back together, which is great. But if we did stay together, I don't know if we would have grew together or grew apart. And, so it's hard. It's hard to be like, oh, this is what I would tell your younger self, but because you don't know if it would mess up your current future where you are right now. You don't know if it would mess that up. So it's kind of hard to say like, oh, these are all the things I would tell myself, and these are all the things I would change when you're happy with where you are right now. And I am happy with where I am right now. So it's kind of hard for me to say like, I would have stayed with Joey then, but who knows if we would have lasted. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty much both of our first real relationship. Like who knows if we were too immature to stay together, and who knows what would happen when I turned 21 and I wanted to go out and party, and you just don't know. So I just don't know. I don't know. But I can tell you these things, if we ever do have kids, these are things I will most definitely teach them. To save, to try to be a better student, to prove it to yourself, not for anybody else, to let things go. So maybe instead of telling my younger self these things, these are lessons that I would hope to one day teach our future kids if we ever have them. Yeah, so that's about it. There isn't enough time, and you got to enjoy it. You got to let things go when you can, and you have to just appreciate the people who are in your life, love the people who love you back, and I guess that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you in my next video. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with a blog on Saturdays and a vlog on Sundays. I said that so fast, I don't even know if I said it right, but you guys, I think, know already. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. Thanks again. Bye.